Hello comrades, you're watching RedIvanAirsoft, and today we'll discuss uniforms of the United States Armed Forces during the Vietnam War. And as always, in the beginning we need to discuss few things. First of all, I want to say thank you to the administration of the website webgear.com for materials and pictures. This is the great website. Guys, if you want to know something about the Vietnam War, this is the best place to go. They have way more information and resources and materials than we discuss in my videos. So please check them out. I will add some links to the description of this video. And the second thing that I wanted to point up is that today we will discuss a lot the manufacturing dates of certain uniform pieces. And usually on the label, when you see the manufacturing year, it is a fiscal year, not the calendar year. Fiscal year usually starts earlier than the actual calendar year. But in my understanding, it is getting compensated by the slowness of the logistics. And now it's time to talk about uniforms, and we will begin with utility uniform. During the United States military full-scale involvement in the Vietnam War, and I'm talking about 1965, most of the Army and Marine units wore utility uniform. There are a few types of it. Right now you see utility shirt P58. This type of Army's utility shirt was standardized in 1958. It was made from olive green OG-107 cotton satin and had two chest pockets with straight cut flaps. Buttons, as you can see, were exposed. Utility shirt was revised in 1963. Clip-cornered pocket flaps replaced the original straight flaps, and the button spacing was improved. It was made of slightly heavier cotton satin. Also, this new shirt featured adjustable sleeve tabs. Next design revision of the utility uniform took place on November of 1964. New shirt featured V-cut pocket flaps and domed plastic buttons. The Army's utility trousers were made from olive green cotton satin and had two patched pockets and two hip pockets. Marines started to use Army's utility uniform in 1964, so by the time of the United States full-scale involvement into the Vietnam War in 1965, this uniform was the main uniform of both Army and Marines. Later on, this uniform was substituted with tropical uniforms in the front troops, but the utility uniform was still used by the rear troops and the Army of the South Vietnam. It is time to talk about tropical combat uniform. Some people divide it into 3 patterns, some people divide it into 5, but I prefer to see it like the infinite flow of the specification updates. That's why we will discuss jackets separate from the trousers. And we will begin with the first type, tropical combat jacket. Tropical combat jacket and trousers were developed in 1962 by Navy clubs following the request from Army Material Command for a specialized uniform for Special Forces personnel in Vietnam. This first pattern jacket was made of wind-resistant cotton poplin in color OG-107 and featured 2 slanted chest cargo pockets and 2 lower pockets. Buttons on all pockets were exposed. It also had shoulder straps, waist take-in tabs and pen pockets behind both chest cargo pockets. Interesting feature was the inner gas flap that was designed to prevent chemical agents leaking through the front button closure. Sleeve had a V-shaped cut near the cuff, covered with another gas flap. All 4 pockets had water drain holes. In 1964, it was decided that the specification needs a revision. And most of the collectors call the pattern that came up after this revision pattern of 1964. But according to the webgear.com, the revision happened in January of 1965. The new design concealed the buttons of all 4 pockets behind the flaps. In November of 1965, United States Army Vietnam Tropical Combat Uniform Board recommended the removal of the Tropical Combat Code's epaulets and waist adjustment tabs. Looks like these changes were not adopted immediately because it is still possible to find some jackets having epaulets but without waist tabs or opposite. And we came all the way to the third pattern. Introduced in 1966, third pattern was simplified a lot. It had no gas flap, epaulets, waist tabs or pocket drain holes. It was the first jungle jacket to have a back yoke and was made in both OG107 and ERDL camouflage patterns. Like all prior models, it was made from wind-resistant cotton poplin and had pant pockets behind both chest pockets. Tropical Combat Jacket Force Pattern. The force pattern of the Tropical Combat Jacket was introduced in the second part of the 1967. It was the first jacket made from ripstop cotton poplin. Like the third model, it had a back yoke and was produced in both OG107 and ERDL camouflage. However, the new jacket had only one pant pocket, located behind the left chest cargo pocket, and the pocket drain holes removed from the third pattern jacket were reintroduced. Here we go, the final version, Tropical Combat Jacket, 5th pattern. The final version of the Tropical Combat coat did away with the sleeve V-shaped cassettes that have been a feature of all prior models. Like the 4th pattern Jungle Jacket, it had only one pant pocket, was made from ripstop cotton poplin, and was produced in both OG107 and ERDL camouflage. The earliest jacket of this pattern I could find was produced in 1968. The one that I'm wearing is produced in 1969. And now it is time to talk about trousers. As we discussed earlier, Tropical Combat trousers were initially designed by Natick Labs in 1962. They were made from OG107 wind-resist cotton poplin and had two side hanging pockets, left and right hip pockets, and two cargo pockets below that contained the leg ties. Waist button tabs that allowed 2-inch waist size adjustment. Cargo and hip pockets buttons were exposed like on the first pattern jacket. The left side cargo pocket also contained a small inner pocket that was originally designed to hold a survival kit. These trousers had a gas flap behind the button fly. Trousers also had leg button drawstrings, cargo pockets, and the inner pockets for the first aid kit also featured the drain holes. A second type of Tropical Combat trousers was introduced with amendments of January of 1965. The buttons of the cargo pockets and hip pockets were concealed behind the flaps. All other features remained the same. As we discussed earlier, there were 5 types of the Tropical Combat jackets, but there were actually 6 types of the Tropical Combat trousers. And the issue here is that I'm not sure when exactly the third type was introduced. What I know is that the third type trousers that posted on the webgear.com were produced in 1966 fiscal year, but I'm not sure whether they were adopted in the late 1965 or 1966. In common with all previous versions, the third pattern Tropical Combat trousers were made from OG107 wind-resistant cotton poplin. They had cargo pocket leg ties, also cargo and the first aid kit pockets still had drain holes. However, a number of changes were made to the basic design. No gas flap behind the button fly. Waistband button tabs replaced by adjustable strap that increased the waist adjustment from 2 inches to 4 inches. Vertical seam above the back pocket. Stitched knee pads to allow better flexing. So now let's check the fourth pattern of the Tropical Combat pants to compare with the third pattern. Fourth pattern trousers were still made from wind-resistant cotton poplin and were produced in both OG107 and ERDL camouflage. Fourth pattern design retained the third model's knee pads, waistband straps, and the seam above the back pocket. But this pattern had no pocket drain holes and was the first version to go away with the cargo pocket leg ties. I found tropical trousers of the fourth type produced in 1966 and also 1967. Now let's talk about the fifth pattern. Fifth pattern of the Tropical Combat trousers was introduced with the fourth pattern of the Tropical Combat jacket in the second part of the 1967. The fifth pattern trousers were the first one to be made from ripstop cotton poplin and were produced in both OG107 and ERDL. Everything else was exactly like in the fourth model. And now the sixth pattern, the finalized version of the Tropical Combat trousers. The sixth version featured a zip fly instead of the button fly. And the pocket drain holes, which have been missing from the fourth and fifth patterns, were reintroduced again. But the seams above the back pockets were removed. Everything else was the same as in the previous patterns. Sixth version of the Tropical Combat trousers was produced since 1968 in both OG-107 and ERDL camouflage. In 1968, the United States Marine Corps in Vietnam adopted the Tropical Combat uniform in ERDL camouflage pattern as their main standard. However, the US Army units mainly used OG-107 version of the Tropical Combat uniform till the end of the war, and only LURPS or some special force units used the ERDL version. Overall, Tropical Combat uniform is pretty comfortable, it is very progressive uniform for its time, and it was a pretty good basis for the future development of the military uniforms in the United States. For some reason, after the Vietnam War was over, military personnel was still issued with the OG-107 utility uniform all the way till the development of the M81 Woodland. And the Tropical Combat uniform could be seen only once again during the Grenada invasion. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. Subscribe to my channel. I have some other videos related to the Vietnam War on this channel. Put like, comment, and see you soon.
On the river road at night, barefoot girls dancing in the moonlight.